Do you see a future where historical films about Catholic heroes portray the authentic beliefs of these people instead of making them out to be modernist liberals? Also, do you think a traditionalist movement might someday appear in the film industry?
Only if there's a future for film.
Oh,
Well, no, I'm serious. I mean, you know, here's the problem, and with A Wrinkle in Slime very close to my memory. Ruining those elements generally makes for bad film. But don't get me wrong. You can make a film where the Catholic elements are absolutely correct and it's a terrible film. It's not watchable. You can do that. But I guarantee you that a film that is not true to its source material is always crap. Always. Always, 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 always. But to do films out of books and out of historical characters is very difficult for modern filmmakers because by and large they're so removed from the material, so removed from what made people great in the past, that they simply can't do it. I mean, I don't want to mention names, but it was Flyboys. An emptier, sadder picture I never saw. It was set in World War I, about flyers. They had the costuming down straight. You know, everything was great, except that the people were modern.
well, yeah.
You know, whenever you have a character saying, you know, in the Middle Ages, say, I've got to find myself. Nobody talked that way. Nobody thought that way.
I can't stand that. Great Gatsby, Leo DiCaprio version. Somebody should have said that the sexual revolution didn't happen yet.
No.
I can't stand that.
It's unfortunately, I mean, that's not to say they didn't have illicit sexual relations in those days, but they didn't do them the same way because they were guilty about them.
Yeah.
You know, they knew that they were doing something wrong. It didn't stop them any more than it stops people from making garbagey films. But anyway, no, to answer your question, is there a future for traditionalism in film? Only if there's a future in film. Because you can't keep going this way. You can't keep on putting out millions upon millions of dollars on films that tank at the box office, which is what they just did. Again, A Wrinkle in Time it's been terrible box office.
Yeah.
Considering especially how much money they put out on it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this St. Paul movie makes out. You know.
Yeah.
But you look at movies that are true to the material. You show me a movie like that, and I'll show you a movie that'll sell. Why will it sell? It'll sell because people will respond to it. They won't respond to garbage. And I mean, the thing that caught me about Lord of the Rings, for instance, the movie version. All right, when you approach a movie of a novel that you're very fond of, you do have to remind yourself, it's not going to be the movie in my head. But no movie is going to do that.
Yeah.
So you gotta give them that. Had the providential nature of things in the novel Lord of the Rings been left out of the movie, which it was not, then it tanked.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. Peter Jackson kept in specifically that element. Now again, I don't know what his beliefs are, if he has, I don't know. What I do know is that he was faithful enough to the spirit of the movie to create a trilogy of films that works. It was very watchable, very enjoyable. Now contrast that with The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Where he crammed one movie into four.
I'd like to believe, because I have so much respect for Peter Jackson and what he did, I have to believe the studios bound his hands on that one.
Well, and I'm sure they made him an offer
he couldn't refuse, yeah.
But I mean, that was a terrible... The Hobbit versus Lord of the Rings is a wonderful comparison, especially because they came from the same man.
Yeah.
Don't let this happen to you.
Well, also too, I mean, the second I knew it was bad was when they announced it's going to be 3 movies.
Yeah.
Because it's not 3 movies.
No,
it's 1 movie.
It's 1 movie, and it could be 1 good movie.
Yeah.
It could be 1 really good movie. And because it's a kid's tale, it's simpler in every way than Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit could have been a mind blower.
Yeah. It could have.
If he had adopted the same methodology that he applied in Lord of the Rings, it could have been an absolute mind blower. But he didn't, it wasn't, and it had all the modern crap.
Yeah.
You have to have a dwarf elf thing to love deal showing that we can cross racial lines. You have to have, I mean, I don't know, I was waiting for, for Arwen to decide, no, but what's her name?
I don't know. I didn't watch the second or third one.
The other elf chick. I'm waiting for one of them to marry Sauron in a self-acceptance move. It's
not Galadriel.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, why not?
She wasn't even in the book, I don't believe.
No, she was in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah. See, what a difference.
Yeah.
Though, not that this is apropos of anything, but Christopher Lee was one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
God rest him. He was in the Secret Service during the war.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet you didn't know that about him.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, what they called the Bureau of Ungentlemanly Tactics or something.
What?
Yeah, they go behind the lines, do commando stuff.
Okay.
And so there's the famous story. That Saruman rather, at the end of the Scouring of the Shower, he goes up and behind Grima Wormtongue, and slits his throat.
Yes.
So they're doing that scene. I don't know if it made it into the movie.
No, it didn't.
But Peter Jackson says to him when they're getting ready to do it, he says, imagine what you would hear if you went up behind a man and slit his throat. And Christopher Lee said, I don't have to imagine it. I've done it.
Wow. That's... Oh my.
That's a happy little tale, isn't it?
Wow. No, in the movie they did a simplified version. I think they only showed it in the extended edition.
Oh.
They're on top of Orthanc. Grima Wormtongue stabs Saruman, and then I think Legolas shoots Grima.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
Saruman falls off.
Yeah, that's right, because they don't do the scouring.
They don't do the scouring, yeah.
Which is a pity.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's what I mean. You had to simplify it.
Yeah.
And I can forgive a film that. What I can't forgive a film is betraying the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is what we go back to.
I mean, I'll make an exception for that because the movie's already 3.5 hours or something like that. It's
well, and it's the same with Tom Bombadil. I mean, how could you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he's one of my favorite characters, but how would you translate him to the screen?
Yeah.
So anyway, but there you go. There will be a future for tradition in film, if film has a future.
This is kind of one of my topics that I love discussing. One of my big pet peeves in modern cinema, another one of my big pet peeves, is the way religious people are portrayed now.
Yeah.
Because it's always in different ways, but there's one commonality. You never want to be them.
No.
You never do. There is some eccentricity, or their zealousness has a touch of inhumanity to it. You never look at the religious guy and be like, I want to be that guy.
No.
There are very few exceptions. With religious movies, quote unquote.
You never look at the religious. You never look at the irreligious person as someone like Hitler or Stalin.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like Hitler and Stalin?
Yeah.
Again, we live in a world that is so stupid. It's mind-boggling.
I'm going to talk about The Walking Dead. As an example. Sorry, guys, if you could give a...
yeah, if you're tired of The Walking Dead.
The priest in The Walking Dead is a perfect example.
Yeah, yeah.
He's looking for a sense of purpose, to do the right thing. I have an idea. How about you administer the sacraments?
Yeah. Yeah, or throw yourself into a zombie horde.
Yeah, I mean,
No, well, Gabriel is obviously not a good person.
I pretend he's just an apostate priest. I mean, it's not explicit.
Well, he is Episcopalian.
Oh, is
He's
he?
not Catholic.
Oh, he's not Catholic. I didn't know that.
No, he's an Episcopalian.
Oh, okay, well, there you go. So...
Never mind.
Never mind.
But yeah, he's an Episcopalian.
Okay, but...
They first find him, I remember before they found the church he was in.
Yeah.
They stopped by a Baptist church or something, and there were a bunch of people sitting in the pews. Well, they're all zombies.
No.
So when they go in, they all get up and turn around.
And another thing, more specifically, other than religious people, is priests. The characterization of priests nowadays. Priests are always such weak, pathetic creatures.
Like Gabriel.
Like Gabriel. I mean, that's a motif. That's a continuing motif. I recently watched Song of Bernadette.
Yeah.
And that was one of the few strong priests. He had a strong character.
Yep.
Which was very enjoyable.
But by and large, they don't do it.
The priest, I loved Carl Malden's priest in On the Waterfront.
Oh yeah.
Marlon Brando classic. He was another strong priest. I mean, he was a social, worker type priest, but he was strong at least, and he was principled.
Well, it's funny. I remember there was a. Of course, sometimes you get set up for a fall. If you remember the show Cold Case.
Yeah.
Which was some of the best propaganda for the modern garbage that I've ever seen, because it showed how terrible past times were, as opposed to how wonderful we are. But I enjoyed the show. It was brilliant propaganda.
Yeah.
But there was one where this kid had been a boxer, right, and his parish priest had encouraged him, which was a thing in working class neighborhoods. And they show the priest today. Well, you keep expecting him to be the villain, or to be a weakling, or to be something. To be a pedo, to be something. Shoe never drops. No, he wasn't what he seemed to be. He was just an all-around good guy that, that was the way he helped these poor kids get out of their horrible working class situation. And as I say, it being that series, I kept waiting for him either to be the villain, or to have some sort of ulterior motive, or...
Yeah.
No.
I wonder how that happened.
Well, good propaganda uses a lot of truth.
Ah.
As they say, rat poison is 99% nutritional. It's that 1% strychnine that'll get you every time.
That'll do it.
Yep. So, it's... and again, Walking Dead... What's interesting about Walking Dead is that it doesn't really have an agenda.
Yeah.
It's simply nihilist.
Yes.
In that, it's very much like Game of Thrones. There's no there. And that's why these shows, while they have they're well done, they're well made, because nihilism has a certain surface reality to it.
Yeah.
That is to say, there is, if you think about your life, you think about the way things go, on the surface there is a certain haphazardness to everything you encounter. But the more you get into things, the less true that appears. And I think that's one reason why, after all these seasons, neither show's wearing that well.
Yeah. The last area that I like talking about is, in terms of movies, is, how do I say this? The classification of movies, because right now we have specifically Christian or Catholic movies. I mean, there are movies that market themselves as such. The St. Paul movie coming out.
Yeah.
I think For Greater Glory was one of those. And then there was a slew of other ones that happened like last year that I didn't really watch or pay attention to because of various Christological heresies. But where Jesus says, "Am I dangerous?"
Yeah. Yeah, you are. You're frightening.
Yeah. But I think part of the revival, because also we deal with this with quote unquote Catholic fiction.
Yeah.
It's bad marketing because it's like it's like people need to be prepared for second tier.
Yes, exactly. And
Like
that
it's not a quality movie.
Yeah, you've got to allow for the fact, because it's Catholic, you've got to allow for the fact that it won't be as good.
My brother discusses. It's like my brother and I talked about this. It's like a health food restaurant. Nobody actually wants to go to a health food restaurant.
No,
you know,
and if they do, they'll have lower expectations.
Exactly, and that's exactly the case when you brand yourself as a Catholic movie. Nobody really. There's the same sort of revulsion there.
A small section will feel duty bound to go see it.
Yes.
And then the others will say no, thank you. And taking your restaurant metaphor a little bit further, imagine a restaurant that was top notch, but happened to use healthy food.
Yeah, what that's what people want.
That's what people want.
See,
but by branding itself as a health food restaurant,
exactly,
and calling itself, something like Sustainable Cafe or something, the green yum yums.
Nobody wants to see that.
No.
So that's part of, I think, the Catholic revival. We just need to have good quality shows without relying like, oh, it's Catholic, you need to see this.
Forget about appealing to the tribe, because the tribe is very small.
Yeah.
What you need to do is make the very best, whether it's movies or written fiction or art or anything else, make the very best you can do. Let it be informed by your faith, but don't try to sell it on your faith. Sell it on its quality. Let's say you can only do that if it is of quality. So if you're going to go into the film business, learn your craft, learn your trade. If you're going to become a writer, learn how to write. Do the very best you can. Do not be afraid of letting your faith inform your work. Think again of Tolkien. When he was asked whether or not Lord of the Rings was a Christian work, he said it is, unconsciously at first, but it became more so as he wrote it. He became more conscious of its Christianity as he wrote it. And there are some things, he says, that will jump out at you. Lembas is the Eucharist.
Of course.
The image both of Elbereth and Galadriel is the Virgin.
And various Christ-like figures, to be honest, with Gandalf and Aragorn, different aspects of Christ.
Yeah, and above all, the working out of free will versus divine providence. Again, it always escapes. It always gets me, and this is preserved in the film. The irony that the evil Gollum is the one who fulfills the quest.
Yeah.
And that's so like real life.
Yeah.
Because things like that really do happen. The quote-unquote virtuous one fails, but the whole thing is saved by the intervention for his own reasons of the horrible sinner.
I reread, it's funny, the book highlights that even more. I just reread it like last fall, and this one little area, Gollum was held captive. The elves had him. When he got released by Mordor, the elves had him, but there was some orc incursion, and he somehow slipped the elves. And to me, that is divine providence.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
That is miraculous. That little Gollum.
And similarly, the great statement in the thing where he says, "One thing is certain: Frodo was intended to find the ring, and not by its maker."
Right. In other words, yeah.
So, it's a wonderful thing, ladies and gentlemen, to be an artist. It's a wonderful thing to write, to paint, to film. And if you have the good fortune to have any talent at any medium, and if you are a believing Catholic, by all means, learn your craft, do it well, and bring us all things we can enjoy. it will definitely be your way of spreading the faith without your having to be obvious about it. Because remember, it's not like you're trying to sell a lie. What you're trying to sell is truth. The more truthful you are, the more it will reflect the faith, not the less. The reason why these anti-Catholic films are such garbage, why these films that excise the faith are so bad, is because they're necessarily distorting reality. Reality is a wonderful, beautiful thing because it was created by God. There's an interesting thing I read in the Wikipedia source of all truth article on Madeleine L'Engle. There is an uncredited quote, so I presume it comes from the Wikipedia writer, his or herself. It said that Madeleine L'Engle had a vision. She saw, in her vision, she saw what we call religion, science, and magic as all part of a single seamless reality. Well, that's true. And that's how reality is. That's how these things are part of a seamless reality made by God himself. And some of it is dark and awful and evil because of free will. Because of the will of creatures like Satan and like you and me to go against the divine order. But even that is all part of the great drama that goes on in each of our lives every day, every way. We're all of us constantly making decisions, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, sometimes great, sometimes small. But that's the real drama of life. And often enough it's easier to express accurately, and this is a paradox, through the media of science fiction, horror, fantasy, or even mystery, than through a straight, realistic approach. But not always. So much depends upon what and how you do it. So be true to your muse and be true to your faith, and there will be a future for traditionalism in film, and as a result, there will be a future for film.